The sky was calm at first. The sun was shining, and people were going about their lives without worry. But then shadows stretched across the ground, long and dark, as if the day itself had been stolen. People looked up, their mouths falling open, and what they saw froze their hearts. Above the city floated a ship so large that it blotted out half the sky. It made no sound at first, only silence, and that silence was more terrifying than thunder. Children screamed, car alarms went off, and phones were raised high to capture the impossible sight. The giant ship moved slowly, casting its weight across the land. Every window shook as if an invisible hand was pressing against the world. It was not an attack yet, but it felt like one was seconds away. The army scrambled. Fighter jets took to the air. Tanks rolled onto the streets, and yet no one dared to fire. Then something happened that no one could explain. From the belly of that ship came a beam of pale light. It pierced through the clouds like a pillar, and from that light descended a figure, not a robot, not a machine, but a living being. It touched the ground with a heavy thud that rattled the earth. People near the site stumbled back in terror, and when the dust cleared, they saw it. The alien was taller than any man had ever been, 8 feet of muscle, skin like polished stone, arms thick enough to bend metal, eyes glowing faintly with a color no human could name. It stood upright, not hunched like a beast, but proud, like a warrior. Its movements were slow and deliberate, as if it wanted the humans to see every step it took. The soldiers raised their rifles, their fingers trembling on the triggers. Mothers clutched their children and ran. Shops closed their shutters, and yet the alien kept walking. Whispers filled the air, voices mixed with fear. Is it here to kill us? Is it here to conquer? Why is it alone? Why send only one? These questions hung over the crowd like smoke, but no answer came, only the sound of the alien's heavy steps. Every footfall echoed in the chest like a drum of war. The alien reached the middle of the street, its head turning slowly as if searching for something. Cameras zoomed in. The world was watching live. Billions of people glued to their screens. No one dared to breathe. Even the jets circling above held fire, because the creature did not raise. A weapon, it carried nothing in its hands, only itself. In the crowd stood one man, an ordinary human, not a soldier, not a leader, just a face among thousands. But his eyes did not look away, while others hid behind cars and walls. He stood rooted, watching with something more than fear. There was curiosity, there was courage. His heart raced, but his feet did not move. He wanted to understand why this alien had come. The alien stopped suddenly, its towering figure casting a shadow over the man, its eyes locked on him. And for a moment time froze. The soldiers shouted, "Get back, get back!" But the man did not move. His breath was heavy, but his gaze was steady. The alien tilted its head slightly, almost like a gesture of recognition. The crowd gasped, because in that instant, it seemed like the alien had found what it was searching for. It had walked past tanks, past guns, past screaming people, only to stop in front of this one human. The air grew thick with tension. Every second stretched into eternity. Was this the moment of attack? Was this the first strike of invasion? And yet, the alien did not raise its hand to strike. Instead, it slowly lowered its massive arms by its side, standing firm like a guardian. Rather than an enemy, its chest rose and fell as it breathed. Its glowing eyes softened, almost as if it was trying to show it meant no harm. But fear still gripped everyone else, because no one could understand. The man could hear his own heartbeat, louder than the sirens, louder than the soldiers yelling commands, louder than the world itself. He knew one wrong move could mean death, not just for him but for everyone. Yet something inside told him this creature was not here to destroy. Not yet. Maybe not at all. But who was brave enough to test that belief? Who would risk stepping closer when the entire world wanted to run away? The answer, it seemed, was standing right there in the middle of the street. One human among millions, face to face with a being taller, stronger, and more terrifying than anything Earth had ever seen. The scene froze like a painting. An alien giant, silent and unarmed, a human, trembling yet unbroken, and a city holding its breath. No one knew what would happen next. But one thing was certain. The world would never be the same again, because the first step toward contact was about to begin. Panic spread across the city as the giant alien stood in the middle of the street. The news channels broadcast the scene to every corner of the world. People locked their doors, governments called emergency meetings, and soldiers formed walls with their guns pointed at the creature, yet no one pulled the trigger. Fear held their fingers still. The alien did not attack. It did not roar. It only walked forward with calm, slow steps. Its glowing eyes scanned the crowd, as if searching. Its shadow stretched across broken glass and abandoned cars. The sound of sirens echoed in every street, but still the alien walked without hurry, as if time belonged to it alone. The leaders of nations argued on their screens. Some shouted that the alien must be destroyed before it destroyed them. Others begged for patience, for observation, because it was not acting like an invader. It was acting like a traveler, calm and steady. But no one could agree, and every passing second felt like the countdown to disaster. People in hiding whispered in fear. Mothers holding their children asked why the alien had come. Old men shook their heads, saying this was the end. Young people pointed their phones at the sky, recording every step, because history was being written in front of their eyes. The alien moved past barricades that had been set up by police. The metal rails bent as if they were made of clay. It did not smash them. It simply brushed them aside. Its strength was terrifying even when it was not trying. The soldiers behind the barricades shook with fear, their hearts pounding, because if it wanted, this creature could crush them in seconds, yet it chose not to. The crowd noticed something strange. The alien did not look at the weapons pointed at it. It did not react to the jets circling above. Its eyes seemed fixed on something else, searching as if humans were not its target at all, as if it was looking for one face among millions. And there, still watching, was the same man who had not run. He stood at the edge of the street, his heart in chaos but his feet rooted to the ground. He felt as if the alien's eyes kept returning to him. But he shook his head. How could that be? Why him? He was nobody. Just an engineer, just an ordinary man. Yet he could not deny the strange connection pulling him to stay. The soldiers noticed him too. They shouted at him to move back, to hide, to get behind the barricade. But he did not. Something in him told him to watch, to wait, to understand. The alien stopped again, its massive body turning toward the crowd. People gasped and pressed back against walls. Every camera zoomed in, every eye widened. For a few moments the alien stood still, the air heavy with silence. The jets above held position. The tanks on the street locked their aim. Everyone waited for the explosion, but none came. Instead, the alien raised its head toward the sky and a sound escaped from its chest. It was not a roar of anger. It was not a scream of war. It was something deeper. A low hum that vibrated through glass and bone. The sound shook people's hearts. Some cried out and covered their ears. Others felt the ground tremble beneath them. But the alien itself looked calm. The sound was like a call, like a voice searching across the air, and though no one could understand the words, they could feel the meaning. Longing, searching, needing. News anchors whispered in fear. What does it want? Why is it calling? The governments feared it was signaling its army, but nothing came from the sky. The great ship above remained still, silent, watching. It was as if the alien was truly alone. The man in the crowd felt something different. The sound was not just noise to him. It reached inside his chest. He felt his heart answering, though he did not know how. He blinked hard, his mind spinning. Was it possible that this alien's voice was not meant for the world, but for him? People began to panic more. Shops closed their lights. Streets emptied faster. Only the brave or the foolish stayed to watch. Whispers spread like fire. It is searching for a leader. It wants a sacrifice. It is calling for its army. No one knew the truth, and fear twisted every guess into terror. But one thing was certain. This was no simple creature of destruction. It was not moving like a beast of war. It was not crushing cities with fire. It was walking with purpose. Its glowing eyes scanning faces, its deep hum filling the sky, its steps slow and steady. and the man realized something that made his skin crawl. The alien was not lost. It was not wandering blindly. It was closing in on something, and with every step it was getting closer to him. He felt it in his bones. The alien was not searching for humans in general. It was searching for one, human in particular, and that human was him. Soldiers shouted louder now, aiming their weapons at the giant's chest, one command away from opening fire. Sweat ran down their faces. Children screamed behind them. The alien paused, its glowing eyes fixed in the direction of the man, and for the first time, the engineer felt his breath catch, because he knew he could no longer stay hidden among the crowd. The world was watching. Billions of eyes glued to screens, soldiers ready to unleash hell, families praying for safety, and one man trembling but unbroken, standing face to face with the possibility that the alien's entire journey, its entire reason for coming to Earth was connected to him. The fear in the streets grew heavier with every passing second. And yet beneath the fear there was also curiosity. Because deep down everyone felt it. The alien had not come for war, not yet, not here. It had come with a purpose, and the answer to that purpose was about to be revealed. The alien stopped in the center of the broken street, its tall figure like a living mountain towering above the crowd. The glowing eyes moved slowly across the humans one by one, as if it was reading their souls. Soldiers kept their rifles aimed, their bodies trembling. Reporters whispered into cameras, and people far away, watching through their screens, held their breath. Everyone knew that a single wrong move could decide the fate of the world. The alien lifted its massive hand, fingers long and strong like stone pillars. The crowd gasped and pulled back. Children screamed, mothers cried, and soldiers braced for the worst. Some expected fire to erupt, some expected the giant hand to crush a building, but none of that happened. Instead, the alien stretched out its hand slowly, not in attack but in offering, its open palm facing the humans. The silence was heavier than thunder. No one dared to move. The line of soldiers shouted warnings, their weapons locked. Commanders barked orders not to approach. And yet in that frozen moment, something unexpected happened. One man began to step forward. It was the same man who had not run in fear, the same man who stood when all others hid. His body trembled, but his eyes stayed fixed on the alien's hand. The soldiers shouted at him, "Stop, get back!" But he did not. His steps were slow, heavy, as if each one carried the weight of the whole planet. The crowd whispered in shock, "What is he doing? Is he insane?" Cameras zoomed in, capturing every move, and the entire world focused on this one human who dared to step forward when no one else had the courage. The alien lowered its head slightly, watching the man. Its glowing eyes softened, not like a predator but like a creature waiting for trust, waiting for contact. The man's chest pounded with fear. Every instinct told him to run, to hide. But something deeper inside told him to continue, to reach out, to meet the unknown instead of fleeing from it. He stopped just a few steps away from the alien, so close now that he could see the texture of its skin, not rough but smooth. Like stone polished by time, he could feel the warmth radiating from the giant body, a strange heat that was not threatening, but alive. He swallowed hard, his hands shaking. The soldiers behind him screamed again, "Do not touch it. Step back now." But his ears blocked their words. His mind focused only on the alien. The alien's hand remained open, unmoving, steady, as if it had been waiting for centuries for this very moment. The man slowly lifted his hand, his fingers trembling. Every camera caught the sight. Billions of humans on Earth and in orbit stations leaned closer to their screens, watching history unfold. A single hand of flesh and a massive alien hand about to meet. The air grew colder. Time slowed, and the sound of the city disappeared. No sirens, no jets, no soldiers shouting. Only silence and the beating of two hearts, one human, one alien. The man stretched his arm farther. The alien leaned slightly lower, their fingers almost touched. The crowd gasped, the soldiers prepared to fire. The commanders screamed for restraint, but no one dared pull the trigger, because they too wanted to see what would happen. They too were trapped by the suspense of this first contact. Finally, the human hand pressed gently against the alien's massive palm, and the world seemed to shake. Not from violence, but from the weight of history. The alien did not crush him. The alien did not harm him. Instead, the alien's fingers curled slightly around the small human hand. Carefully, delicately, like a parent holding the hand of a child. Gasps and cries filled the air. The crowd could not believe what they were seeing. This was not an invasion, not an act of war. This was contact, the first true touch between human and alien. The man's knees almost gave way under the pressure. His heart raced faster than it ever had, but he did not pull back. He stood firm, meeting the alien's glowing eyes, and in those eyes he saw not anger, not cruelty, but something else. A depth, a sadness, a searching, as if this giant had been waiting for this moment far longer than any human could imagine. The alien let out a sound, not a roar, not a growl, but a low rumble that echoed like distant thunder, yet it carried no threat. It was more like a sigh of relief. The man blinked hard, because in that sound he thought he heard something more. Not just noise, but meaning, a wordless message that filled his chest with a strange warmth. The soldiers lowered their guns slightly, unsure, their hands sweating, their training broken by the impossible sight in front of them. The commanders fell silent. Even the jets circling above did not move, because the alien was not here to fight and the human had not been destroyed. The world erupted in confusion. Some cheered, some cried, some demanded weapons to be fired. But deep inside, every witness knew something important had happened. A barrier older than fear had been crossed. A bridge had been built between species. The man pulled his hand back slowly, his fingers trembling, and the alien lowered its arm, not in anger but in respect. The two stood face to face, the giant bowing its head slightly, the human breathing hard but standing tall. For a moment they were equals. No one knew what would happen next. Was this the start of peace? Was this the beginning of war? But one thing was certain. History would remember the moment when one human stepped forward, when one hand touched another, and when courage opened the door to the unknown. The crowd stood frozen, the giant alien still bowing its head slightly after touching the human's hand. The air was so heavy that even the sound of breathing felt loud. Soldiers were drenched in sweat, their guns still raised but no longer steady. The human's heart hammered in his chest as he pulled his trembling hand back, his mind unable to believe that he was still alive. Then the alien's chest expanded, its head tilted upward, and a sound began to rise from deep inside its body. At first it was a low vibration, like the growl of a mountain shifting. Glass rattled in the windows, cars shook on their wheels, and people covered their ears. The sound grew louder, deeper, until it was no longer just heard, but felt. It pressed, against the bones, against the heart, against the very air around them. People screamed, thinking this was an attack. Jets circled faster. Commanders barked orders, fingers tightened on triggers. But before anyone could fire, the sound changed. It shaped itself. The growl softened. The vibration twisted into rhythm. It became not noise but voice, words too vast for human tongues, too heavy for human throats. It was a voice that shook the sky, booming, echoing, filling every street, every corner of the world where cameras were watching. Yet the words were not human words. They were alien, sounds deep and sharp, rolling and trembling, a language no one on Earth had ever heard. The crowd cried out in fear. Reporters shouted, translators panicked, scientists scrambled in their labs trying to record and decode the impossible language. But then something stranger happened. While everyone else heard only noise, the human who had stepped forward heard something else. In his mind, the sounds were not meaningless, they were clear. They were words, not in his ears but in his thoughts. "You hear me?" the voice said inside his mind. "You are not afraid." The man staggered back a step, his eyes wide, his lips parted. How could this be? He glanced around, but no one else reacted as he did. They only covered their ears. Crying from the thunder of the alien's voice, he realized that only he could understand. The alien's glowing eyes locked onto him again, burning brighter, and the voice filled his head once more. "I did not come for war. I came because I was lost. I came because I searched, and you are the one who can hear me." The human's throat went dry. He wanted to speak, but his voice caught. Finally, he forced out words, trembling, whispering, "Why me?" No one else heard his whisper over the thunder, but the alien did. The giant tilted its head lower. The rumble of its words returned. "Because your mind is open, because you do not hide in fear, because courage is the key." The soldiers behind him shouted, "Step back, step back." But the man didn't move. He couldn't. His body was shaking, but his feet held firm. His mind flooded with questions. What did this alien want? What was it searching for? And why was he, of all people, chosen? The alien raised its arms wide. The crowd stumbled backward in panic, thinking the strike had come, but instead of fire, the alien's voice poured out again, this time louder, directed at the sky. The sound shook clouds apart. Birds scattered, windows cracked. The language of another world filled the air. To everyone else, it was still terrifying noise, but to the man the meaning was clearer now. He heard fragments. Refuge, hunted, last of my kind. Knowledge, danger. His chest tightened, his mind raced. This alien was not a conqueror. It was a survivor, carrying something terrible, carrying something powerful. The crowd screamed louder, governments shouted, into radios ordering the alien to be taken down. The jets above prepared to fire. But the man raised both his hands high and shouted, "Stop!" His voice cracked, but it cut through the chaos. People turned to him. Soldiers hesitated. Even the alien lowered its arms. The alien's deep eyes never blinked, never looked away. Its voice whispered again inside the man's mind. "If they strike, all will burn. If you trust me, there may be hope." The man's chest felt like it would explode. The weight of the world pressed onto his shoulders. Billions of eyes were on him through the cameras. And yet he was only one, human. One man standing against armies. But he understood something in that moment. The alien had not chosen Earth randomly. It had chosen him. Sweat rolled down his face. His legs shook, but he shouted again, "Wait, don't fire, it's not here to kill us." His words echoed across the crowd. Reporters gasped. Soldiers looked at each other in confusion. Commanders barked orders to ignore him, but hesitation spread. No one wanted to be the one who started a war if there was another chance. The alien placed its massive hand slowly on the ground, lowering itself slightly, almost like kneeling. The rumble of its voice calmed, softer now, like distant thunder fading. In the man's mind, he heard the truth. I fled. I carry knowledge that others seek to destroy. They will come. They will follow. I cannot face them alone. The man's stomach twisted. The world felt heavier than ever. This was no accident, no coincidence. This meeting was the beginning of something larger, something that stretched beyond Earth. The alien was not just asking for contact, it was asking for trust, for alliance, for protection, and only he could answer. The silence stretched again, the crowd trembling, the soldiers waiting, the alien bowing, and one human man standing. Between fear and hope, no one knew what he would say, but everyone knew the next words, the next choice, could change the fate of Earth forever. Night fell heavy on the city, but no one slept. The image of the giant alien lowering itself, bowing almost in respect, replayed again and again on every screen across the world. Governments spoke in fear. Generals demanded action and scientists argued in panic. But one truth had settled deep into every heart. The alien had chosen only one man to speak to, and that man was now the center of the storm. The human walked back to his small apartment with trembling steps, the streets empty and silent. His phone filled with messages, his door surrounded by reporters, his name shouted in every broadcast. Yet his mind was not on fame or fear. It was on the voice that still echoed in his skull, the alien's words repeating, "If they strike, all will burn. If you trust me, there may be hope." That night, when the world was holding its breath, he felt a presence outside. He opened the window, and there it stood at the edge of the ruins. The alien, 8 feet tall, glowing eyes softened in the moonlight. He should have run. He should have called the army. But instead he stepped outside, his heart thundering. And for reasons he could not explain, he walked toward it. The alien bent lower, its massive form casting a shadow over him. Its voice came not through ears but straight into his thoughts. They do not trust me, they will try to cage me. But I came not to fight them, I came to warn. You are the only one who can hear me, so I speak only to you. The man swallowed hard, his throat dry. Why me? He whispered. I am no leader. I am not a soldier. The alien's eyes glowed brighter and the words filled his mind again. Because leaders only see power, soldiers only see war, but you see truth, you do not run, you do not hide, that is courage, and courage is what I need. They met in secret again the next night, and the night after, hidden from cameras, hidden from soldiers, the alien told fragments of its story. It had fled from an empire that had fallen, an empire destroyed by hunters who wanted its knowledge. It was the last of its kind, carrying memories and technology so powerful it could save worlds, or burn them. The man listened, every word heavier than the last, his mind racing with questions, but one truth cut deeper than all others. If the hunters found Earth, they would destroy it without hesitation. The alien's presence was a danger to everyone, but also perhaps the only hope to stop what was coming. Meanwhile, the governments grew suspicious. They tracked the man's movements. They planted spies. Near his home, commanders whispered that he was betraying humanity, meeting the alien in secret. They wanted to interrogate him, to lock him away. Some even called him a traitor, yet he could not tell them what he knew. He could not explain the voice in his mind. He could only keep the secret. The pressure grew worse each day. Soldiers followed him. News anchors accused him. His neighbors avoided him. Children pointed and whispered. But when night came, he still found himself drawn to the alien, the giant waiting quietly at the edge of the dark, their conversations silent to the world, loud only in his thoughts. One evening, the alien showed him something that made his breath stop. It opened its palm, and in it rested a small glowing shard, a fragment of technology unlike anything on Earth. The alien's voice trembled in his mind. This is a piece of my world. It holds maps, knowledge, power. It must never fall to the hunters. If they take it, no world will survive. The man stared at the shard, its light dancing across his skin, and fear mixed with awe. Why show me this? He asked. The alien's deep voice replied, Because you must decide where it belongs. I cannot fight alone, and your people will not trust me. But they may trust you. His stomach twisted, the weight unbearable. He was just an ordinary man, yet now he held in his hands something that could save or doom the galaxy. If he gave it to the government, they might use it as a weapon. If he kept it secret, the hunters might find it. The choice burned inside him. The spies watching from the shadows snapped pictures, reported to their leaders. Soon the governments gathered, accusing him of hiding something, accusing him of colluding with the alien. Their voices filled the news. He is no hero. He is a traitor. But in his heart he knew the truth. He was the only bridge between the alien and the world, the only one who could decide. And as the night stretched on, the alien's warnings grew darker. They are coming. The hunters will follow. They always follow. Your world must be ready. But if they know too soon, your people will destroy me first. The man clenched his fists, his mind torn in two. Trust the alien and risk Earth, or betray the alien and lose the chance for hope. The world watched him with suspicion. Governments demanded answers. Soldiers circled closer, and yet each night he still stood before the alien, the giant bowing its head only to him, speaking only to him, the weight of two worlds pressing down. On his shoulders, the secret meetings had begun. The dangerous knowledge was revealed, and the human's life would never again belong to himself. He was caught between fear and trust, between betrayal and courage, and the time for choosing was coming faster than he wanted. The sky above Earth was no longer empty. The giant alien ship had floated silent for days, unmoving like a mountain in the clouds. But one night a second shadow appeared, smaller at first, then growing larger, until the stars themselves seemed to vanish behind it. The first hunters had arrived. Astronomers were the first to notice, their telescopes catching the glint of strange metal. Then radar screens lit up red with warnings. Governments panicked. Generals screamed orders, and the people of Earth held their breath. The aliens' warning had come true. The ones who had destroyed its empire were now here, and they were searching. The man who had met the alien stood on his rooftop staring at the night sky. He saw the faint streaks of light, hunters moving silently above the world. His chest grew heavy, his stomach twisted. This was no longer about fear of one alien. This was war waiting to fall. That night the alien appeared to him again, its glowing eyes burning brighter than before. Its voice filled his mind. They are here. I told you they would come. They follow the shard. They follow me. If they find me, they will burn your world to ash. The man swallowed hard, his voice breaking. Then we must tell the leaders, we must prepare, we must fight. But the alien shook its massive head slowly. If you tell them now, they will turn on me, they will cage me, they will try to take what I carry, they will destroy me before the hunters ever strike. You must decide who you trust. Governments already suspected him. Spies followed him everywhere. Soldiers waited outside his home. He heard whispers that he was a traitor, that he was secretly working for the alien. Even his neighbors turned their faces away. The world wanted answers, and he had none to give. The next morning, he was dragged into a room filled with generals and leaders, their faces grim, their voices sharp. Tell us what you know. What has it told you? What weapon does it hide? Do not lie. Humanity's survival may depend on this. He looked at their cold eyes, their shaking hands, their fear, dressed as anger, and he knew they were not ready. If he told them everything, they would see only a threat. They would destroy the alien first and ask questions later. So he kept the truth hidden, and that choice made him their enemy. Whispers spread faster. He is betraying us. He is helping it. The cameras followed him. The crowds cursed him. Some even demanded he be locked away. But at night the alien still came, and he still listened. The hunters drew closer, their ships circling the orbit like wolves. Scientists detected signals they could not decode, bursts of strange energy flashing across the sky. Panic spread. People filled the streets with protests. Some begged for peace, some demanded war. Our humanity was breaking under fear. The alien's voice shook in his mind once more. When they come, your armies will fall. Your weapons will burn. Only together can we stand. But only you can choose if they trust me or kill me. The man's nights became torture. He could not sleep, he could not eat. He dreamed of fire raining from the sky, of earth turning to ash, of children crying under the roar of alien hunters. He dreamed of betrayal, of governments using the shard to make weapons, of his people destroying themselves before the hunters even fired a shot. And then the day came. The hunters moved out of orbit, their ships visible now even to the naked eye. Massive, jagged, glowing with cruel light. People pointed upward and screamed. Jets scrambled into the air, missiles locked, armies roared into position. The war that no one wanted was seconds away. The generals turned to the man once more, their faces pale with fear. Tell us what it wants, tell us what you know, or we will end this now. Their hands hovered over the command to fire, but his heart knew the truth. If Earth struck first, the hunters would unleash destruction like nothing humanity had ever seen. He looked to the alien, who stood silent at the edge of the city, its massive figure calm even as the world shook with terror. It bowed its head to him once again, waiting, trusting him, one human against the fire of the sky. The man stepped forward, his voice trembling but loud enough to cut through the roar of panic. If you fire now, Earth will be destroyed. If you kill the one who came to us in peace, there will be no chance. You must trust me, you must trust it. It is not our enemy. The real enemy is already here. The crowd shouted. Leaders argued. Soldiers hesitated. But no one fired, because deep inside, even they knew the hunters were different. The hunters radiated hatred. The hunters looked like predators, while the giant who stood among them lowered its arms, made no threat, and waited. The man's legs shook, but he did not stop. He shouted again. We have one chance. One chance. Only to stand together with it or fall apart alone. You may not trust me, but look with your own eyes. If it wanted war, you would already be dead. It came here for a reason, and now the hunters have followed. Earth must choose. The silence that followed was heavier than gunfire. The hunters drifted closer, their Weapons glowing, the alien bowed deeper. The world balanced on the edge of destruction, and one human stood between them all, holding the truth like fire in his hands. The hidden enemy had arrived. The hunters were here, and the moment of choice had come. Trust the alien and risk betrayal, or betray the alien and lose all hope. The fate of Earth trembled in the space between those two choices. The hunters did not wait long. Their ships broke through the clouds. With a roar like 1,000 storms, the sky lit up red with their engines, their weapons glowing brighter than lightning. People on the ground screamed. Jets fired upward. Missiles streaked into the heavens. But the hunters swatted them aside like flies. Explosions painted the night, and Earth trembled under the weight of invasion. The alien who had come in peace stood tall at the edge of the city, its glowing eyes fixed on the burning sky. The human stood beside it, trembling but unbroken, his heart pounding so loud it drowned out the sirens. He looked up at the chaos and whispered, "What do we do?" The alien's voice filled his mind, steady and deep. "We stand, together." The hunter's beams cut through the air. Buildings exploded. Fire rained across the streets. Soldiers fired every weapon they had. But nothing slowed the enemy. Tanks melted, planes burned, and the armies of Earth fell back in terror. Leaders shouted through radios, demanding retreat, demanding surrender. But the man raised his voice above the madness. "Do not run. We still have a chance." The alien dropped to one knee, pressing its giant hand against the ground. A ripple of light spread outward. The shard it had given to the man glowed brightly in his pocket, burning like fire. The alien's voice thundered. In his head, "Use it now. Together our strength can fight them." His hands shook as he pulled the shard out. It hummed with strange energy, filling his veins with heat. He felt visions flash through his mind, maps, stars, weapons, machines, knowledge. Of another world, too much for a human to carry. Yet the alien's hand steadied him. "You are strong enough. You must be." The hunters descended lower, beams slicing through towers, screaming engines drowning out prayers. The human raised the shard high, and the alien placed its glowing hand over it. The light burst upward, forming a shield above the city. Beams struck the shield and scattered into sparks. People gasped, soldiers cried out in shock. For the first time, Earth had something that could resist. But the shield shook with every impact. Cracks spread like glass under pressure. The alien gritted its teeth, its voice groaning inside the man's skull. "I cannot hold this alone. Lend me your courage." The human pressed his hand to the shard, his body trembling with pain as the energy poured through him. His heart raced like thunder, but he did not let go. The shield grew stronger, brighter, a dome of light that turned night into day. Hunters circled, their ships unleashing volley after volley. But the shield held. The people of Earth looked upward in awe. Hope sparking in their hearts, they shouted, they cried, they believed. Then the alien stood tall again, pulling its hand away from the shield. It raised both arms high, and the shard in the man's hands transformed, shifting into a weapon of light, heavy yet alive. The alien's voice whispered, "Together." The man lifted the weapon with shaking arms, and though he was just one human, the alien's strength flowed into him, making him stand as if he carried the power of giants. The hunters descended, their ships roaring closer, claws of metal opening, weapons glowing brighter. The alien leapt upward, its massive body moving faster than anyone had thought possible, slamming into one of the hunter ships, tearing into its armor with raw strength. Explosions burst in the sky. The crowd below roared in shock. The human aimed the weapon of light, pulling the trigger with a cry. A beam erupted, piercing the heavens. Striking another hunter ship, the blast tore through metal, ripping it apart. Fire scattered across the sky. For the first time, the hunters screamed. For the first time, they bled. The battle raged. Earth's armies rallied. Jets flew alongside the shield, firing in unison. Tanks rolled forward, their courage renewed. The alien fought like a storm in the heavens. The human fought like a flame that would not die. Together, they turned fear into strength. But the hunters were endless. More ships circled. More weapons burned. The alien's body grew weak, its wounds glowing, its voice faltering. "I cannot last much longer," the man shouted, his throat raw. "Then I'll fight for both of us." He fired the weapon again and again, light tearing through ship after ship, until his arms felt like breaking until smoke filled his lungs. One final hunter ship descended, larger than the rest, its shadow covering the city, its weapon glowing with death. The alien staggered, kneeling, its voice faint. "This is the end, unless we strike together." The man fell to his knees beside it, pressing the shard against the alien's chest. "Then we strike together." The shard blazed like a star. Light exploded outward, wrapping human and alien in a storm of energy. The giant and the man rose side by side, their bodies glowing, their voices joined as one. They unleashed a blast that split the sky, a beam of pure fire that pierced the hunter ship straight through its core. The explosion shook the heavens, shattering the clouds, lighting the night brighter than the sun. The hunters fled, their remaining ships turning away, scattering into the void, their howls echoing as they vanished. Silence fell heavy over the city, broken only by the sound of fire dying. People looked up in disbelief. The enemy was gone. Earth still stood. The man collapsed, gasping for breath. The shard dim in his hands, the alien leaned against the ruins, its glowing eyes fading but calm. It turned its massive head toward him and bowed low, its voice soft in his mind. "Human courage has saved not just Earth, but me. I am not alone anymore." The people poured into the streets, cheering, crying. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Leaders stared in awe. History had changed in one night, and at the center of it stood one man and one alien, bound by trust, their courage woven into a story that would be told for generations. The last stand was over, but it was also a beginning. The beginning of an alliance that could shape the galaxy itself. The world would never forget the night the alien bowed to the human, and the human stood taller than anyone had ever imagined.